Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Patita Kripaya Shri Gurun Tam Natosmi Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakkoram Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Mukam karoti vaschalam pangam langayate girim jat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. So welcome everyone. Famously amongst our devotional community, everyone knows, we heard from Srila Gurudev that he said, surrender means not just to surrender and lie down, but to surrender and serve.
Doorbell.
Is that the doorbell?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's two bells and they have different rings.
Okay.
So it depends which one you hit.
I've never heard that one before. Okay. So, yes, surrender and serve. After all, we're aspiring to enter into the service world. As Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, the world where every atom is a serving atom. And where nothing and no one has any separate interest other than the interest of their Lord's satisfaction. So how will it be possible for us to enter into that domain when we are filled with separate interest? And what does that mean, separate interest? Separate interest means anything which is not directly connected with the satisfaction of Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. He's the cause of all causes. The one indivisible truth. And everything else is emanating from him. So we know Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Guru Maharaj, he would quote Hegel, the German philosopher Hegel, as saying that reality is for itself and by itself. That reality, the ultimate reality, the spiritual reality, or if you like, God, must exist for himself and by himself. For himself means only to fulfill his purpose, not any other purpose. Not any second party's purpose, otherwise that person would hold the higher position. So not that God is just an old man with a long beard sitting in the cloud dispensing benefits for the righteous and punishment for the wicked. He's got better things to do than that. And by himself means not that he's alone, but it means none to rival him. No one to rival him. So not like the Judeo-Christian idea of God and Satan, that God has this rival that if he gets enough followers and gets powerful enough, he can shove God off the throne in heaven and rain darkness on the world for all eternity. That's a foolish idea, dualistic idea. But the Lord, there's no dualism present in the absolute truth. Good and evil, they're both relative ideas of this world. What's good for you may be bad for me. We see that that's the case. So, in this world, to make things equitable, people try, governments try, and everyone thinks that it's the best program is the greatest good for the greatest number. That's the best we can go for in this material world. But that means that some minority must suffer as a result of that. You can't have the greatest good for everyone. Somebody must suffer as a result of that. And we see that that's just an inevitable outcome of this material world. And no matter what you try to do politically. So, Karl Marx thought it would be a good idea if everybody was completely equal in every aspect. So that means the guy who empties your dustbin or sweeps the street, he's on the equal footing with the president or the prime minister. They both get the same payment, the same everything. And what someone might think, well, that's really a good idea, and that's called communism. But although as theory it might be very nice, but practically it's an impossible thing. And we even see that those communist countries, where like the Soviet Union and so on, when they were communist countries, that there were always those who were a little bit more equal than everybody else. So there can't be equality, actually, neither materially or spiritually. It's not possible. We see that. Practically, we can see that. No one is equal. Some will say, oh, but spiritually we're equal. But no, not even spiritually. We're not all equal. There's also a hierarchy within the spiritual reality too. And that's because that's the reflection of this material world is a reflection of that reality. We can, in a broad sense, we can say, oh yeah, everyone's equal because everybody's a spirit soul. On that plane, we're all equal. But that's in a very general sense. So, the greatest good for the greatest number, but that also means that some number won't get an equal cut of that. So all political ideas to try and make this world equitable, they're bound to fail. So spiritually, Krishna is for himself and by himself. So nobody to rival him. Plenty of people try to rival him. We find that in the history of the world and also in the scripture too. So many demons thought that they could contend with Krishna and maybe overthrow him, or Krishna, Vishnu, like that. But that never happened. And never can happen, because he is one without a second. So this idea that some gigantic being such as Satan may be able to overthrow the Lord is a foolish idea. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we doubt that such a gigantic being exists. But if he does exist, he's also under the plan and control of Lord Krishna. He cannot be otherwise, cannot be separate from that. And whatever power or what he may have is completely insignificant. compared to the power of the Lord. So he's by himself. There are no one to rival him. When in India, some centuries ago, the ruler, the king, the emperor, whatever his title was, of India at that time, his name was Akbar. He was a Mughal. But he was very open-minded, liberal-minded, and well-loved ruler of India. And he had many wives, and one of his wives, she was a Hindu princess. And he liked very much, although he was Muslim, he liked very much the Hindu religion. So in Delhi, they made a big exhibition to, show all the gods and goddesses of the Hindu pantheon. They made some big hall. And obviously not all of the gods and goddesses, what are there, 44 million, they say, different gods and goddesses. That would have been a really big exhibition. But like the main ones, so they got the main ones there. And he opened the exhibition, and he's going around the exhibition, and they're saying, this is Indra, he's in charge of the rain and the weather and so on, and makes the rain come. This is Vayu, he's the god of the wind, and this is Devi, this is all the different gods and goddesses they're showing, and that he's telling to the king, and this is their domain, if you like. This is what they're in charge of in this world. So then finally they come to the Krishna exhibition, and there's Krishna. He's playing his flute. He's got a couple of cows with him, and cowherd boys and cowherd girls, and maybe they're dancing and playing some musical instruments and like this. And Akbar said, so then who is this? This is Krishna. And what's his function? He asked. What does he do? And the man who was showing him around, he thought for a few minutes, and he says, actually, he just enjoys himself. That's all he does. He just enjoys himself. And he doesn't have any element that no, he's just plays with his cowherd friends and looks after the cows and has a good time. And Akbar said, this is the highest conception of God in your religion. And of course he's correct. So this is Krishna. He doesn't have anything to fulfill, any purpose to fulfill, other than his own purpose. So for himself and by himself. So for himself, that also means that everything else is for him too. The whole of his creation is only there to satisfy him. So, being his parts and parcel, his created beings, if you like, that means that we also are for him. We exist to fulfill his purpose. And this actually is the fundamental principle of spiritual life. All spiritual understanding rests on this point, that we exist to satisfy him. And once we admit that, then spiritual life can begin. As long as we think we have some separate purpose to that, then we can never have real spiritual life. As long as we think that, Krishna exists, God exists, that's fine, but he's there to fulfill my plans, to facilitate my plans and my ambitions and my idea of what I should be doing in my life. That isn't spiritual life. That's material life. First, we have to understand that he doesn't exist to fulfill my ambitions, my plans, my anything. Although he may do that. You may ask him for something, he may give you that. Or he may not give you that. As they say, man proposes and God disposes. And we understand nothing can happen without his sanction. So, then it is like a childish conception of God, right? So we see that in the scripture. There are many things advised, like you want the rain to fall, you make this offering to Indra and so on, and the rain will fall. And people do that, and the rain falls, and some faith comes in them. Oh, this is real. It actually works, But we're advised by Krishna himself in the Gita, whatever your desire is, don't go to any other god or goddess. Come to me directly. In Gita, Krishna says that those who worship the devatas, they go to the devatas, and those who worship me, they come to me. But you should understand, Arjun, that those who worship the devatas, desiring some result separate from me, they're smaller intelligence, because they don't understand that whatever the devatas can award to them, that also comes by my sanction alone. They don't have any independent power to me. So come direct, come to me. So we're advised in that way. Whether you have no desire for anything in this world, or you have all desire, don't go anywhere else except Krishna. And let him be your provider, if you like. That's a good thing. But that isn't pure devotion. Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, he has explained what pure devotion is. Pure devotion is whether you embrace me, or whether you ignore me, or whether you trample me under your feet. It doesn't matter. You're still my Lord unconditionally, birth after birth. That's pure devotion. Make me or mar me, that's up to you. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's written, some people say we should worship God because of all the good things that he gives us. He said, but that means, if we accept that premise, that means if he doesn't give us any good things, then we shouldn't worship him. So we can understand that that's not pure devotion. Pure devotion means that whether he gives us something or nothing, or even does away with us entirely, that's completely his prerogative. And we are to worship him unconditionally. It is a little advanced idea of God. But this is the Vaishnava understanding of God and worship of God.
But Prabhu, the thing, to reach to that state, we always have a desire. So we have a desire to, in this world, we always have a desire. Okay, let me get this thing, and maybe this will make me more happy. So, and this is how, and it is not that we think like this, because the child, the earlier the child is and he or she learns things, those things remain in his memory or in his life for a longer time. So when our upbringing has been, it is always associated with a desire, that it is a desire that our parents wanted us to excel, for example, in the class, to do well in this, to do well in that, to become a good man, to become a successful man. And that has carried on in us after growing. That means now we have a desire. We need a good job. We need a good house. We need let's say. So our desire is more associated with these worldly things.
Of course.
And that is why I think we are not able to attain or even touch spirituality.
That's the entire problem. So now we have to relearn the values that are taught by the ancient seers of the truth. So, yes, you're correct, that our family, our society, they expect certain things from us and they instill certain values into us. But we shouldn't be tied down by those things. And of course it depends on your own inner necessity. So some people are satisfied with that. That's all they want in life, and they go on and they get their car, and the nice car, nice house, nice wife, nice, bank balance, all of those things, and they think they're very happy. But there are those who, in spite of all that, whether they have all that or whether they don't have all that, they feel that something's missing in their life. That this isn't everything. And that leads them to look for a higher calling. And that's kind of natural within us all, right? So Socrates said that the unexamined life is a life not worth living. So then we shouldn't just go on in the world doing what everybody expects of us, what our family expects, what our society expects. We should stop and question, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? What's it all about? And then we'll see that we have some other necessity in life, some deeper necessity in life. I just saw recently, the American actor, what's his name? That Ace Ventura and Jim Carrey, right? Jim Carrey. So he's a successful person in life, right? He's famous, he's got wealth, he's got everything that anyone could desire, more or less, in life, right? So, but he said, I wish everybody could get that, to understand that that doesn't give you real fulfillment. I wish everyone could get whatever they desired, so that they would understand that that doesn't give them real fulfillment. So this is a person who has all those things, and he's saying, that's not, I know that's not giving me any real satisfaction. So in a way, it's Maya. You know the word Maya, right? So Maya means that which is not. Maya means that we're all engaged in this wild goose chase, running after everything, and that with the carrot hanging in front of us, saying, fulfillment, happiness and fulfillment's just round the corner, or just over the brow of the hill. And we're all running for that, thinking, we're nearly there. But no one ever gets it. No one ever really comes to that point of actually finding that. Or, and some may think that they do. Some may find in life that they've got all the things that they want, and they sit back very satisfied with themselves. But then some tragedy comes in their life. And no one can avoid that, right? Nobody courts unhappiness. But it's coming to you anyway. There's nothing you can do to stop that. Either on a small scale or a large scale, it's coming. We can't avoid that. And think, the more you have, then you can say, the more that those things will devastate you. So there's a Roman philosopher, I can't remember his name now, but he said, it is not those who have little that are poor, but those who never feel that they have enough. So it's and in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is described as hridrogam, or heart disease. The heart disease is considered that I need 1 million, I need 1 billion, I need 4, more and more and more, never satisfied with what we have. It says, when I was an elephant, I ate a whole forest, and still my hunger wasn't satisfied. When I was a pig, I ate hillocks of stool, and still I wasn't satisfied. So now in this human form of life, I'm still not satisfied. Whatever I get, whatever I achieve, I'm still not satisfied. Why? Because you can't satisfy the soul with any amount of material things. Because the soul, it's incompatible with the spiritual nature. The spiritual nature is incompatible with this material world. We can survive here, we can adjust here, but we have to make some compromise. Like our Gurudev used to say, you can survive in space if you have a spacesuit. right? With oxygen and everything to protect you from the environment. So we can survive in this material world, and we've put on this like spacesuit of flesh and blood and bones that allows us to function here. But we're inside there. And this is all external. It's not actually who we are. But then we start thinking it is who we are. Not start thinking. Right from the get-go we are thinking that this is who we are. And that, fulfilling all of these necessities of this body is what life is all about. But it's really not. And this is where we need to be re-educated. And what you say is very true, that we're brought up in a certain way with certain values and all of these things, and it's very difficult for us to embrace the spiritual path. Our Guru Maharaj said, he told us that in Germany there's a music school. And in that music school, they would interview the candidates when they would come to the school, before they would teach them, and they would ask them, what do you know about music? So, then there'd be two candidates, and one candidate would say, I don't know anything at all about music. No idea about it at all. I can't read music, I can't play any instruments, I can't do anything. Okay, then your tuition fee, $100. Then or Deutschmarks would it be then, but then another candidate would say, oh, I've studied music, I can play this instrument, I can play that instrument, and all of these things, like giving all his background. And then they would say, so your fee, 400 Deutschmarks. And it's like, but I know so much, why do I have to pay more than the person who knows nothing? And they said, because first of all, we have to re-educate you. We have to do away with all the things that you think you know. And so we can start, he's a blank slate. We can teach him easily. But first of all, we have to do away with all your misconceptions that you have about music before we can teach you. This was their standard. So it's something like that, We all think we have so much experience and so much knowledge and so many things. But we have to be re-educated. And that means we need to reassess or reevaluate what it is that we want in life. So do you just want what society has told you should want, to be a functioning member of that? That's okay if anyone wants that, and that's fine. And even if you accept the spiritual path, you can still do all those things as well. But the difference is that your inner aspiration is different. One time when one famous devotee in our line, his name was Professor Sanyal, Professor Nishikanta Sanyal. He was a very great devotee in the time of our Guru Maharaj. And one time he was a good scholar in the scripture and so many things. And one time his brother came to the temple to stay with him for some time. And he asked him, what do you do here? What do you do? And he said, we don't do anything at all that you'll be able to understand. And he says, what do you mean? He said, we don't engage in any material activity at all. He said, what? Nothing. You don't eat, you don't sleep, you don't... And he said, no, we don't do any of those things. He said, well, I've seen you, eating rice, dal, chapatis, all these things. And I am also eating rice, dal. And he said, no, we are not eating anything. We do not eat anything. I said, with my own eyes I have seen you. He said, no, what we honor, Krishna's prasadam. And those who honor that, Krishna prasadam, they don't do that with any eye or any motive to enjoy that in a material way. So they're not seeing that rice, dal and chapatis as food. You are thinking it is food, and that your food and my food same, and that your activity, my activity is the same. But that is only externally. Internally, the devotees, the Vaishnavas, they have no mood of consumption. Only their mood is service. So even when they're eating, when they are sleeping, when they're doing anything, when they're going to the toilet even, that is all with the mood of service, the attitude of service. So this is the difference between material life and spiritual life. It's not the outward activity. They may be identical, from the observer, the outward observer. But what is different is the motivation behind that. That's all. So those who see everything as to fulfill their purpose, that's material, that's exploitation, the plane of exploitation, right? Where jivo jivasya jivanam, one living entity is food for another living entity. That's the material world, the material plane. So, like the big dog eats the smaller dog. So everybody in the material world's trying to be the biggest dog on the block so they don't get eaten. It's like almost survival. They want to be the top guy, so that they'll be safe. Their family will be safe. So they're trying to be the best exploiter that they can be. But those who have spiritual vision, they see with a different eye. They see that nothing is meant for me, everything is meant for my Lord. Then everything in this material world is also meant for Him. Then they deal with everything in a different way. They deal with everything in a service-centric way. So we hear in the scripture the story of Sudama Vipra. You've probably heard this story. That Sudama was a Brahmin who was Krishna's schoolmate when they were children in the ashram of Sandipani Muni. Then Krishna and Sudama, they were like bosom friends. So then, but when they grew up, you can say, now Krishna's the king of Dwarka, and with so much wealth and opulence and so and Sudama, he's so poor that they can't even afford to give their son milk. They're giving the children at school, they ground up some chalk and mixed it with water and gave it to Sudama's son and told him it was milk. And he told his mum and dad, I had some milk today. And all the kids are just laughing at him, right? Because they know he didn't have milk, he had ground up chalk water. But then they think, we're so poor, we can't even give some milk to our son. Then Sudama's wife said, but isn't Krishna your friend? Like your school, weren't you bosom friends at school? He said, yes. I said, why don't you go and ask him to help us out? I'm sure, I've heard that Krishna is a very generous and magnanimous person. Why don't you go and ask him to help you out? Anyway, this way, Sudama doesn't want to ask Krishna for anything. But he's thinking, like his wife's giving some pressure to him. And he's thinking, hey, maybe if I could go, I could see Lord Krishna one more time. It would be worth it just for that, just to see his lotus face. Then he said he agreed. Okay, I'll go to Dwarka, see if I can meet Krishna and ask him to give some help to us. All right. Then as he's going, he's a little unhappy. And his wife said, why are you unhappy? He said, well, because I'm going to see Krishna, but I have nothing to give him. I want to give like a gift to him. It's been so many years since we've seen each other, and I'm just going to show up as a beggar with nothing to give him. His wife said, let me find something. And she's looking, and then she found this chira in the cupboard, or in the pantry. Flat rice. And that and a little doi yogurt, mix that together and put in a little cloth bag. Give this to Krishna. It's something that, like, we don't have it much, but at least you can offer that to him. all right. So he took his bag and off he went. And walked, however far it was, to Dwarka. And he came to the palace of Krishna. And Krishna knows that he's coming. Krishna knows everything, right? So, my friend's coming. After so many years, my friend's coming, he told. Please, we must receive him with honor. He is a Brahmin. We must receive him with great honor. And he came to the door, like a beggar, his cloth all torn and ragged. He came, and Krishna invited him in, and took him into his own room, sat him on his bed, and gave everything to him. And Rukmini, she's fanning Sudama, and Krishna is washing his feet and crying, oh, my friend, for so long I haven't seen you, and very happy reunion. And then Sudama, he thought, I can't ask Krishna for anything. It's just like, it doesn't feel appropriate to me now, Just seeing his beautiful, smiling lotus face, that's enough, That's all I require. I can't ask it for any material thing from Krishna. And we see that. I remember when I was a young boy, and I would go to visit Guru Maharaj in Navadvip, and I'd have like so many questions, right, that I've been wanting to ask Guru Maharaj. Like lists and lists of questions I've got for Guru Maharaj. Haven't seen him like for a year, so now I've got like this big list of all these like important questions that I've got to ask Guru Maharaj. And then when I would come in front of Guru Maharaj, they just all seemed stupid to me, those questions. And then I would think, I'm not going to ask anything. and I wouldn't ask anything. But sometimes Guru Maharaj would say, does anyone have a question? And then maybe I'd ask some question. And I said to Guru Maharaj, Maharaj, whenever we come in front of you, I just feel like an idiot, I just feel like, in front of you, I feel like a complete idiot. And Guru Maharaj just said, yes, of course. So anyway, Sudama, when he came before Lord Krishna, or anything that he wanted to ask for, it just seemed inappropriate, like no real necessity for that. And that was his inner feeling, like just seeing you again after all this time, that's enough for me. And then Krishna says to him, so did you bring anything for me? Like a little shyly, did you bring anything for me? And Sudama's thinking, he lives in this palace, like everything's made of gems, and he has so many servants and so much opulence, and what am I going to give him? This like dried up rice with a bit of yogurt in it, then he said, no, I'm sorry, I didn't bring anything. And Krishna said, is that true? He said, yeah. And he said, but what's that there in that little pouch that you're carrying? No, give me that. And Krishna, like by force, he took that. Oh, what is this? And he took that. And such sweet things you're trying to hide from me, Sudama. I thought we were friends, and you don't want to share this nectarian thing with me? Let me have that. And Krishna ate that and was very satisfied. But still, Sudama can't bring himself to ask Krishna for help as was the plan. But really that was his wife's plan. It was never really his plan. His plan was, just maybe I'll get the opportunity to see Lord Krishna once again, and that's enough. And after everything, he returned to his home. And he's so happy now. He's so happy returning. And as he's coming to his village, as he as he crossed the brow of the hill, and where his small, like hut was before, now there's this great palace there. And he's like, what, did I take a wrong turn? I can't understand. What is this place? No, I must have gone the wrong way or something, like got turned around or something. And as he's thinking like that, and he sees his wife and his son come out from there, and they're dressed very finely, and his wife comes running. Oh, my lord, my husband, what did you ask to Krishna? Like, what happened? I just wanted, like, maybe you'd give us a little money, we could buy some milk, and look at this, like, what's everything that's happened? And Sudama said, actually, I didn't ask him for anything, but he's given this to us. So, because Krishna knows what is your inner necessity, he knows what it is you require, and Krishna will maybe not give you a palace, but he'll give you what you need, and more than what you need. Actually, his nature is such. But the significant thing is, right, that Guru Maharaj said about this, Sudama Vipra, when he got all of this opulence from Krishna, he regarded it all with his service-centric vision. He didn't see it as the object for his enjoyment. He wasn't like, yeah, thanks Krishna, bye, party time. That wasn't his idea, right? That would be my idea, for sure. Yeah, fantastic, like, here it is. I won the lottery today, Where are we booking that holiday to, wherever? No, that was not his way that he saw it. His vision was service-centered. So this way, there's nothing wrong with wealth, but it is what you do with that wealth. A few years ago, when I was in the Ukraine, then they're raised on the ideas of communism. Now it's not a communist government, but for so long it was a communist regime there. So all the people there, they have that mentality to a greater or lesser degree. So this man, he asked me, is it a sin for me to have more than my neighbor? This was his question. And my reply was, no, it's not a sin. But what you do with your wealth, that may be a sin, or not a sin. It's not the thing itself. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. But what will you do with that money? That will be the deciding factor. So how will you see that? Will you see that as to facilitate your enjoyment in life? Or will you see it as the opportunity to serve your Lord? And if you can see that, then no problem, you can have all the wealth in the world. But if you see it as only for you to facilitate your enjoyment, then that will be the cause of your fall to hell. The utilization of that. Often we say, right, that in Krishna consciousness we have the 4 regulative principles. But in the scripture, there's a 5th regulative principle. Dhyutam, Panam, Striyam, Shunam. These are the 4 pillars of sinful life, right? Dhyutam means cheating, gambling and cheating. We say gambling, but doesn't just mean going to the betting shop. Dhyutam also means cheating. It means, like getting something in a unlawful way or an unauthorized way. And cheating others. That's dhyutam. And panam means intoxication. But it doesn't just mean, drinking wine or, smoking ganja or something like that. That isn't necessarily the only meaning of panam. Guru Maharaj said, panam means the enjoying spirit. to enjoy separately from Krishna, that's Panam. And Striyam means unlawful sexual activity. So Scripture has given some authorization. Who wants sex life, they should marry. Not go running round the discotheque and trying to pick up girls and all of that. That's unlawful. One partner, find one partner, man or wife, and live with them peacefully and have children and try to raise them in Krishna consciousness. And Shunnam means animal killing or violence to others, but specifically the violence towards animals. Killing animals to eat them. Mangsa. There's this idea that we can become strong and healthy at the expense of others. When I heard it from Guru Maharaj, it kind of struck home once. He said, so that one may stand, thousands must die. That's the reality of it, right? If you're a meat eater, thousands, how many thousands of animals have to die so that you can live? And what necessity for that? People say that sometimes, right? Oh, but if there was nothing else to eat, would you eat that? Yeah? If there's nothing else. They asked Prabhupada that question at one journalist. He said, what if there's no fruits and vegetables and everything available? Like maybe you're an Eskimo or something, and you can't grow anything. And maybe in the 60s that was the thing. But I think today even the Eskimos can get anything they want in the supermarket where they live, right? But Prabhupada said, yes, if there's nothing else, then you may eat. Then they said, so if you had nothing else to eat, you would eat meat? And Prabhupada said, I would rather die. That was his reply. But I say, especially today, turn that question around. Rather than saying, if there's nothing else to eat, would you eat meat? Then the question rather should be, when there's everything you can eat, when everything you can imagine is available, why would you need to do that? When every kind of fruit and vegetable and grain and everything is just available in abundance, why would you need to do that? Why would you need to cause the suffering of others just because it tastes good, right? And so many things, even if you like the taste of it, there's so many imitation things you can eat. I was just at my office the other day and people were saying, have you had that new vegan sausage roll from Greg's? So they were talking amongst themselves. And then they said, yeah, my mind's blown. I couldn't tell the difference. It was fantastic. And they're not even vegetarian people, but they're saying like that. So we live in a world where everything is available. You don't need to kill innocent animals to be happy and to be healthy. So that's the question. When everything is available, why would you cause the suffering of others? So one may stand, thousands must die. This is not a good proposition, is it? Anyway, these are we understand these are the four principles: Jutam, Panam, Striyam, Shunnam. But in Bhagavatam, where this is given, then the fifth principle is given, and that is Jata Rupam. Jata Rupam means hoarding money. To hoard money is also sinful. Stashing money, like trying to make a big pot of money for yourself. And everyone can understand that, right? They can understand that. Bill Gates, who's one of the richest men in the world at one time, and this, what's his name, Warren Buffett, he's another one. Like, these are people who are considered the richest people in the world, but even they understand we've got to do something with that. We've got to utilize that for some good purpose. I mean, what they consider to be a good purpose, we may not think it's a good purpose, but at least the principle, they understand that. That Anita Broddick, she's the founder of the Body Shop, those natural cosmetics and all of that. So she got what is it called? That blood disease? No. Hepatitis. One of them, there's like different types of hepatitis. So one of them kills you. One of them's terminal, and she got that from a blood transfusion, contaminated blood. She got that. So she's dying, right? But she's a millionairess from her body shop empire, and she said, this is some years ago, but she said, and if I die with all these billions in the bank, that'll be a great sin. So before I die, I need to give that away. Give that money for some good purpose. So, decent people, and most people are decent people, they understand this principle, that hoarding money is not a good thing. It's a sinful thing, actually, And the scripture confirms that. That's why people say, money is the root of all evil. And that's what it means, right? Because dutam panam striyam shunam, if you've got wealth, all of those things are widely available to you in all of their varieties. So, you can facilitate all of that with your wealth. And we find that people do that, right? They don't have so much money, they don't know what to do with it. When Mahaprabhu appeared, or before Mahaprabhu appeared, this was the situation in Navadvip. Navadvip was the seat of learning in India at that time. Like Oxford or Cambridge here, was considered like that, right? So if you want to become famous as a scholar or something like that, you have to get your certificate from Navadvip. So everyone going there to study and get their qualification, and as a result of that, Navadvip became a very prosperous place in India, and all the people who were living there, they became wealthy. But what did they do with their wealth? They would arrange festivals to marry dogs and cats. Like dress them up and have like a festival, parade them in a chariot, and get them married together, dog and a cat, or cat and I don't know how it worked. And when the Vaishnavas, headed by Advaita Acharya, they would see that, Advaita Prabhu, he would weep to see that. Like people wasting their life, doing nonsense things like that, And things aren't much different now, are they? In fact, probably worse now. And we see that happens. I see that in America particularly, they have whole pet beauty parlors where you can take your dogs and cats and if you're anyone, you have to carry your little dog in a bag around with you, and it's a kind of madness, right? It's madness because when there are people who don't even have a bowl of rice to eat in other parts of the world, and you're spending money on taking your dog or your cat to the beauty parlor, there's something wrong there, isn't there? And they're here too in the UK as well. They have them. There's one just near where I live. But
There's one Russian politician who has a private jet. He takes it to the music exhibition.
Yeah. So because this is the thing, you see, because people have more wealth than they know what to do with. So they use it for stupid things like this. And literally, that's something that any sane person should make them cry to see that. We heard that, when Srila Prabhupada, if he would go past a golf course, he would cry to see people playing golf. He'd think they're wasting their human form of life, hitting a ball around in a park or something, Was it George Bernard Shaw? He said, golf is a nice walk in the country spoilt. But that's what we do, right? We try and find things to do with our wealth, and really we are wealthy people. Comparatively, we're wealthy people, but we use that wealth for nonsense things. So this is the state of the material world. So then, if you're not God-centric, then if you don't see things with a service-centric vision, then wealth will be your route to hell. And the aspiration for wealth and all of those things, that will lead you to hell. But if you're 100% devoted to the Lord, no amount of wealth can harm you. But as Guru Maharaj would say, we have to cut our coat according to our cloth. And also I heard from Guru Maharaj say, that sometimes devotees think, let me become wealthy and then I'll use my wealth for Krishna's service. And they devote all their time to try and become wealthy. But they don't become wealthy and they don't serve Krishna either. And even if they do become wealthy, then how many will use that wealth in Krishna's service? So it's a hugely diverting, time-consuming endeavor, the endeavor for wealth, and there's no end to it. So Guru Maharaj advised us, what you have in your hand today, use that for Krishna's service. Let tomorrow take care of itself. Not spend your life chasing after, Guru Maharaj would say, wild goose chasing, or they say the Akash Pushpa, the sky flower, doesn't really exist. It's not something that's even attainable, but we run after that. And with this idea, when I become wealthy, I'll use my money to open a temple, build a temple, serve the Vaishnavas, do this. It's all well and good. But today, what will you do to serve the Vaishnavas, to serve Lord Krishna? You can try and try and try. And 30, 40 years go by and you didn't serve Lord Krishna. And now death is only waiting for you. Then we don't know what our future is. But today we have some energy and we have maybe some idea for the satisfaction of our Lord. So let's utilize our time for that. And right in the beginning I'm saying that this is our idea, is that we aspire to enter into the service world. The spiritual world means the service world. It is not the place of unlimited enjoyment. It is, but it's Krishna's unlimited enjoyment. And our enjoyment comes in seeing that, or being part of providing that for Lord Krishna. Not separately. There's sometimes you see that by the train stations, there's a religious groups, they have their magazine that they try and sell there. They have two. One's called Awake and one's called The Watchtower. And often the theme of their magazine on the cover, they show some picture of paradise. So there you are with your family, your children, your mum and your dad and the dog maybe, and everyone's happy. It's all lots of flowers and a beautiful sky, and their idea is that this is what's awaiting for you if you're faithful servant of God. But something is missing in the picture there, because where's God in the picture? He's not there. He's maybe he's behind the cloud providing all of that for them. That's their idea, right? Their idea of their ultimate fulfillment is an never-ending paradise where they live, with extending their idea of fulfillment in this world. It's all there in that world, but it's all materialistic. You'll be with your family, you'll be happy, you'll be all of these things, right? Anyway, but this isn't the fact. The fact is that he must be in the center. Krishna is in the center. And everyone else is there to give pleasure, happiness, fulfillment to him. That's what he designed us for. This is Srila Guru Maharaj's expression. You're designed and destined for that. That's why we exist. So ultimately our spiritual realization comes to us when we accept this factor, this point. And then what do? We have to think about that in a realistic and practical way. We are not abstract thinkers. We're not interested in all the abstraction and obscure philosophical points in our Siddhanta. We don't have time for any of that. We don't want to prove that the Vedas say the earth is flat or the earth is round or whatever it may be. We're not interested in that. No, really, we're not. Because that's just a diversion. The scripture isn't about that. Srila Guru Maharaj said that the Srimad Bhagavatam isn't about geography or history or physics or any of these things. It's a treatise on devotion. If the whole point is worship Krishna and serve Lord Krishna on a flat world, on a round world, on any shaped world, that's the important thing. It doesn't matter. And if you think that that's what Krishna consciousness is about, to try and prove these things, people will just think you're crazy. No one will take you seriously. If you want to try and convince people of those things, no one's going to take you seriously. If you think that we want to prove that man never went to the moon, if that's what you think Krishna consciousness is about, most people will just think you're nuts. That you're a cult member of some mad cult. Forget it. It doesn't matter. Went to the moon, didn't go to the moon. Krishna is still the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and our purpose is to serve Him. Whether we went to the moon or didn't go to the moon. This is the purpose. Srila Guru Maharaj say we have to be practical thinkers. And Krishna consciousness is the most practical philosophy. So now, what are we to do with this idea? With this understanding that we are to serve Him, that our life is meant for His satisfaction, then practically what does that mean? It's not just, we talk about it, great, fantastic, that's really good, and it doesn't change our life. It has to change our life. Srila Govinda Maharaj said when he was in New York, there's one famous devotee from ISKCON, and he came to visit Guru Maharaj every day. At one time he was considered the biggest, greatest scholar in all of ISKCON in the early days. But he came to visit Srila Govinda Maharaj in New York, and every day he's asking Srila Govinda Maharaj many complicated questions from about the scripture. And after a few days, Gurudev said to him, "Are you satisfied with my answers to your questions or not?" He said, "Oh Maharaj, I'm so satisfied. Amazing, your answers. Can't imagine how satisfied I am with that." Then he said, "Then now what will you do with those answers? Now what are you going to do?" And he looked a little puzzled, and Gurudev said to him, "So you are taking my time, and I'm giving my attention to you and so many answers, and you're putting in your pocket those answers, but for what? If that's not going to change your life, then for what purpose am I spending my time and you are spending your time? Then now you have those answers, then you must come with me. And he said, "Oh, Maharaj, I haven't got any money. I can't really travel with you." But that wasn't what Gurudev meant. He didn't necessarily mean like physically you have to come on the world tour with me or something like that. But he, like where I'm going, what I'm for, you have to also be for that. This was like Srila Guru Maharaj's ethos too. Like, how can we please you? They asked Guru Maharaj, how can we please you? You know I was there when the devotee who asked that question. He's a disciple of Prabhupada. And anyone would ask Prabhupada that question, anyone in this room I'm sure would know what the answer would be. If you want to please me, distribute my books. Invariably that would be Prabhupada's answer to that question. So maybe he was expecting Guru Maharaj would say something similar to that, But that wasn't Guru Maharaj's answer. Guru Maharaj's answer was, what I am for, what I am existing for, what I have determined is my purpose in life, what I've learned from my Guru Maharaj, that I want to give every drop of my blood, every breath of my life to serve that. If you will also do that, if you will also follow that path, that will please me. That will satisfy me. So, okay, it's a big ask. We know that. It's a big thing to do that. Because there's so many other things in this material world that we're having to contend with. Then, we're also saying, oh, but I haven't got any money. I can't come right now. I've got so many. In other words, I've got so many other things I have to take care of first. But really, do you? Because any moment those things could all be taken away from you, at any moment. And invariably they will be taken away from you. Nobody gets out alive, that's the thing in this material world. Death is coming for everyone, inevitably. So then we have to utilize our time that we have now, in our hand now. Nobody knows what the future is. You could walk out in the street tomorrow and get hit by a bus. It's all finished, then what will you do? So, then try to utilize your time to serve Lord Krishna. It doesn't mean you have to make some radical change in your life. It doesn't mean you have to go and live in a cave in the Himalayas or something like that, or it doesn't mean you have to shave your head and move into the ashram, and it doesn't mean any of those things. It means you have to change your outlook on life. You have to diametrically change your purpose in life. And now you have to understand, my purpose isn't for satisfying my idea of how things should be, but I should try and come into consonance with what he wants. Then what does that mean in a practical way? Well, that's something that everybody has to figure out, because what it means for me and what it means for you may not be exactly the same thing. The principle's the same. I have to utilize my energy to satisfy him. But practically what that means, it may be different for everyone. The detail may be different for everyone. That's why we need a master. We need a master. And the master can give us the hint for that, can give us the direction for that. That also will depend on the individual. As Srila Govinda Maharaj is telling, I never give my disciples any order. You must do this or you must do that. Because I know if they can't do that, then they'll be committing Guru Aparad for not following the Guru's instructions. So I'm not telling. But some disciples he's telling. Those who are ready for that, he's telling. Do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. Then how much will you surrender yourself to the will of your master? We saw, in the time of Guru Maharaj, he also was reluctant to give anyone any, you must go here and do this and do that. And often he would say, his phrase was, "As you like, so you may do." This is what Krishna told Arjuna, right? After telling him everything, then he said, "Now, what I've told you everything, now you decide. As you like, so you may do." And what did Arjuna do? Arjuna followed Krishna's direction. Got up and he fought and did everything that Krishna had instructed him to do. But Krishna didn't say, "You must do that." He said, "Now you decide what you will do." And Guru Maharaj was very much like that. And Srila Govinda Maharaj also very much like that. And actually it was the worst thing that we could ever want to hear from Guru Maharaj was, "As you like, so you may do." We never wanted to hear that from him, because that usually meant like, "Yeah, all right, whatever you think." We wanted him to say, "No, do this," or "Don't do that." We wanted that. But he's not going to do that unless you're ready for that. So, then we heard from Guru Maharaj, Saraswati Thakur, he always used to say, "First deserve, then desire." So the first thing is to make yourself fit for that. And that's your job. Krishna will help you. But you have to have there has to be something come from your side. You have to make some effort to try to make yourself fit for his service. You don't have to become a big scholar or, any such thing. Just be sincere and humble and make yourself a fit receiver for the truth. This is Srila Govinda Maharaj always said that so much is moving in the ether and we are not able to perceive that with our ear. But if you get a radio receiver and tune it to the right channel, you can hear the music that you like or whatever once you know what that channel is. So similarly, the spiritual current is always moving. Only we have to tune ourselves to be able to receive that. Make ourselves proper receivers for that. But this is the same thing. First deserve, then desire. So make yourself a fit recipient, a fit receiver for that. Then automatically that will flow to you. That inspiration, the inner inspiration will flow to you. And you will understand what is necessary for you. But not to use that as an excuse also. I am just letting the divine current flow through me, and when the inspiration comes. That's why Guru appears as a person, the Mahanta Guru. There is also the Chaita Guru. Chaita Guru means the master in the heart. But we often mistake our mind and our heart as being the same thing. All the things that the mind comes up with, so you think that's our heart. But we should not confuse the two. That's why when we're in that conditioned state, it's necessary for us to accept the Mahanta Guru, the Guru who appears as a Vaishnava. Guru must be Vaishnava. But the principle of Guru is Krishna. Krishna is the Guru. But Krishna manifests himself through his devotee. That's how he likes to distribute himself in the world. Not that we think, we don't need any guru. God is in my heart. And allow him I don't need any third party to get in the middle of that. That's his own direction. Krishna distributes himself through his devotee. Why else does Krishna say in the Gita to Arjuna, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashanena sevaya upadekyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Famous verse in the Gita. But someone may say, why is Krishna, already Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, please instruct me what to do. Now Krishna is saying, approach a spiritual master and inquire from him, submit to him, inquire from him, and serve him. But Krishna's already there directly as Arjun's spiritual master. Is that just redundant? No. It's because Arjun is our proxy. He's representing us, and Krishna is showing this is the method by which spiritual knowledge is transmitted through the Tattvadarshi, those who have proper vision of the truth, or who are connected with the truth. My devotee. Through my devotee, you can understand me. This is the way. And these 3 points, they're the essential points in that verse. Pariprashna, Pranipat, Pariprashna, and Sevaya. Pranipat means like exclusive regard, proper regard, exclusive regard. Not just like a spiritual tourist, you know. What can I get from this teacher or that like I get a bit here and a bit there and mix it all up into a nice spiritual stew. No, like means now I've come to you, I'm like exhausted with all the stews that I've tried in this material world. Now I want something real, and you're the person that can give me that. The exclusive regard. And then Pariprashna means proper inquiry. That the nature of our inquiry, not just like to satisfy our curiosity, but to satisfy our inner necessity. Sometimes devotees were asking Guru Maharaj so many questions, and once he said, I'm not an inquiry booth. And even one devotee was asking him some questions. He's writing a book and he was asking Guru Maharaj all these questions. And Guru Maharaj giving some reply, and very nice reply and everything. But finally Guru Maharaj said, your questions are like straw to me. That devotee was like shocked. And then Guru Maharaj could see, maybe like I've like hurt his feelings now, And then he said, of course, straw is also food for some. He said, but not for everyone.
What was that you told about someone who was asking about the Dashmul? Like many, many questions, and she was humorous to answer, and then at the end
Yeah, that was one godbrother. He was writing a PhD.
Was this the same story?
No, this was a different time. He was writing a thesis for his PhD, and he's writing on Das Mula. Then Guru Maharaj is giving some talk to him, and it wasn't recorded. It was just I was there, and he and his friend, the 3 of us, maybe 1 or 2 others. And Guru Maharaj was talking about Das Mula, and he said, Nimbarka Swami, he also wrote Das Mula, and he's like comparing the 2 and contrasting Bhaktivinoda's Das Mula and Nimbarka's, and it was like fantastic, and like halfway through the talk, that devotee, who it was for, he made his obeisance and he left. And Guru Maharaj can't, because Guru Maharaj is almost blind, right? So he can't see that he's gone. He's gone, and his friend, they've gone. But Guru Maharaj is continuing his talk, and seeing my figure there, he's like, can see, thinking I must be him. So he's like refocusing his stare on me, and he's continuing telling like that. Then he said, after telling all these wonderful things about Das Mula, he says, but this academic PhD and all that, he said, we hate it. We hate it from the core of our heart, we hate it. What is that mundane thing? Then he says, he leaned forward and he looked at me and he said, what do you think about that? Thinking I was that devotee, And Bhajinarayan Prabhu, Guru Maharaj's secretary at the time, he was there. And he's laughing. And he's like, he was really quite fat, and when he laughed, his body used to like shake, So he's laughing, and Guru Maharaj is like looking at him like, why is it funny? I don't understand. Like, why you're laughing? Guru Maharaj like, and Bhadrinath Prabhu said, because that devotee, he left about half an hour ago. Guru Maharaj said, oh, who am I talking to then? It was Devashish. Then Guru Maharaj started laughing, and he said, oh, maybe he was not ready to hear that. And he said, but it is for you also, Prabhu, he told. It is for you also. Yes, Guru. Anyway, so what were we talking about? Seva. Oh yeah, then, and so means relevant inquiry. What you ask must be relevant to your position and to your internal necessity, not just like being inquisitive, or there must be some purpose behind what you're asking. One of my godbrothers, he was a sannyasi, and he asked Guru Maharaj asking, like, is anyone has some question? And that devotee, he said, could you explain to us the 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam? And Guru Maharaj's reply was, first you have to understand what is an appropriate question for a disciple to ask his spiritual master. I do not consider that to be an appropriate question from you. So, like, in other words, yeah, I can explain that, but like, how will that benefit you where you are now? Maybe you can give some fantastic class later if you recount all those things, and everyone will go, wow, but really, like, how will that benefit you? How is that an appropriate question? I do not consider that to be an appropriate question. So, what is appropriate? And really that means, I am here and I want to be there. Then how can I progress from here to there? What's the way I should do that? That should be the tenor of our question. And if I am meant to satisfy Lord Krishna, in which way do I accomplish that? How do I do that? That's an appropriate question. So, Srila Govinda Maharaj said, when we came to Guru Maharaj, we never asked many questions. So this is like in the Indian tradition, when you accept a spiritual master, that's like it, Now it's all about service. So and Srila Govinda Maharaj said, this way we never heard so many things from Guru Maharaj, like what his actual philosophical and spiritual wealth was. We didn't really hear much about that. He said, my position was a little different because Guru Maharaj is training me, but for the majority of the devotees, we didn't hear that. It was only when the Western devotees started coming and they're asking Guru Maharaj so many questions that Guru Maharaj's wealth came out for everyone to hear. So the real thing is, how can I make progress in spiritual life, and how can I satisfy Lord Krishna? That's the relevant question. Everything else is kind of details, And last but not least, sevaya. Service. You have to serve. Krishna is not in any need of our service, actually. He has everything he can require. In Goloka Vrindavan, he's playing with the cowherd boys and cowherd girls, and Mother Jashoda is cooking for him. Srimati Radharani is cooking for him. Then what will we do in our kitchen to satisfy Krishna when his cook is Radharani? Radharani was given a boon by Durvasa that whatever this girl will cook will taste of ecstasy. And when Mother Jashoda heard that boon, she asked Radharani's parents, Vrishabhanu Kirtida, would it be all right for her to come every day and cook something for Krishna? Because I want him to eat what he eats to be ecstasy. Yes, okay. So then, what are we going to cook that can satisfy Krishna when he has those cooks? Those are his personal cooks. So there's nothing really we can do to satisfy him of our own merit, you can say. He's fully self-satisfied. But he wants something from us, and that is, he wants our love. And that must be given freely, but it must be real. You know, when Krishna went to the house of what was his name? Vidura. Yeah, we went to Vidura's house, and Vidura wasn't there, but Vidura's wife is there. And suddenly, you know, like if you hear a knock on the door and you open the door and there's Lord Krishna standing there, what are you going to do? You'd be beside yourself, wouldn't you? You know, my God, this is Krishna at the door. So it was like that, you know. She invited Lord Krishna in and gave him a seat, maybe a glass of water. And they're also poor. Vidura was a Brahmin and they were poor. Then she's looking, wants to offer something to Krishna. And then in the pantry there's some bananas. So she took the bananas and she wants to offer to Lord Krishna, to feed Lord Krishna. But she's in such a panic now. Oh God, it's Krishna, you know, she doesn't know what she's doing. Then she's peeling the banana and giving the peels to Krishna and throwing away the bananas. You know, right? The opposite you would normally do, right? And Krishna's just eating those banana peels. And suddenly Vidura comes back, and he's also with, maybe with Narad or, you know, some small party. And he sees that his wife's giving Krishna banana peels and throwing. She's like, what are you doing? Why are you not giving Krishna the banana? You're giving the peel, like, we haven't got much, but like what we have got, you completely messed it up, haven't you? You know? and she's like, oh, and then Krishna said, Vidura, be peaceful. I'm not eating banana or banana skin, but I am eating her love. What she's offering me, she's offering with love, and that's that's my food. But Krishna doesn't desire bananas or banana peels. He desires love. He's a consumer of love. And that's why he's endowed us with that capacity. We have that capacity to give and receive love. And actually, that's the moving principle of everything in existence, is based on love. We're all desiring to find that person whom we can give our love to. Whoever we are, whatever field we find ourselves in, that's what we require, that's what we desire. Everyone. And he is the object of that. If we can give our love to him, that love will never be unrequited. We will never be disappointed. We will never find ourselves in a situation where we think we made a mistake. Well, we do that sometimes, don't we? We get into these relationships with people and we think, what have I done? You know, I thought this was the greatest person ever, my soulmate. And now I find out I always leave the toilet lid up, you know, they never put the cap on the toothpaste, and, you know, like, it's unbearable, you know? I can't tolerate it anymore. And then suddenly, when it was in the initial stages, I love you, now it's I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. We find that so often in this world. You'll never find that with Krishna. You'll never find that. Whatever he does will only increase your love more. And he'll never be unavailable to you. He'll always give himself to you as much as you give yourself to him. And actually, and as Srila Guru Maharaj said, like every atom of your necessity for that loving reciprocation, he will fulfill that, and more than you can ever imagine. And that ultimately comes through service. So service in practice in this material world, you know, to serve Lord Krishna in practice is non-different from serving him in reality. It's the same thing, only maybe our realization of that is lacking, that's all. But service in practice and service in perfection, they're actually the same thing. And one leads to the other. So by practicing to be a servant, we will actually become a servant. And when we are 100% servant of the Lord, then we will be able to enter into the service world, the spiritual world. Not before. If you still have some tinge of separate interest, you can't go there, because you're just going to make a mess of things if you go there. We can't. No envy is allowed in the spiritual world. No one will be able to look on Krishna and think, why is he getting all the attention? What about me? No, that's just not present there, and can never be present there. It's only in this material world. So, first of all, we have to make ourselves fit. That's what that means, to be non-envious. The whole problem in the material world is our envy of Krishna and Krishna's devotees. What he has, we want that, but that will never give us the object of our desire. The object of our desire should be to satisfy him. And in satisfying him, or not even in that, in our attempt to satisfy him, we'll get our real fulfillment. That's, in the nutshell, what it means, what service life means. So we have to try to mold our life in such a way that we can serve Krishna. And Krishna's not accessible to us, actually. Therefore, we are recommended to approach his devotee and serve them. Serve Krishna's devotee, Krishna's real devotees. Thereby Krishna will be satisfied. Because we can pray to Krishna, we can plead with Krishna, but he may ignore us. But he cannot ignore his devotee. Krishna says himself, I'm completely under the control of my devotees. Then if they will petition on our behalf, this is a very nice boy, very nice girl, they're trying so hard to satisfy you, then Krishna will not be able to ignore their petition, their request. So, is the secret, as Srila Gurudev used to say, or Srila Sridhar Maharaj used to say, love me, love my dog. If you love me, you have to love everything associated with me. And really that's the key. That's the key to getting Krishna's affection and attention, is by serving his devotee with love. Then Krishna will recognize, who says they are my devotee? I don't necessarily accept that. But who is the devotee of my devotee? I consider them really my devotee. Krishna says to Uddhava. This is the secret, and also the very practical way in which we can make our lives perfect. So now we'll stop here. Jayam Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jayam Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Vaishnava Brinda ki jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. I have to run to the toilet.
Jai Sri Shri Guru Guru Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Vishnu Patra Mahamsa Parivara Ki Jai. Jai Sudama Sriman Bhakti Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Patra Mahamsa Parivara Ki Jai. Jai Sriman Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Patra Mahamsa Parivara Ki Jai. Jai Sriman Bhakti Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Patra Mahamsa Parivara Ki Jai. Sriman Bhakti
Yes.